young, my sister and I had a slightly conflicted relationship, which is really just my delicate way of saying I could be kind of a pain. Being that we're 3 years apart in age, she was the little sister that wanted to be just like her older brother, do everything he did, go everywhere he went. And my early adolescent response to this was to not be a full-blown bully, but rather sometimes go that extra mile to be difficult. During one particular exchange, it was morning. We were getting ready for school. My sister had just taken a bath and was lying on the couch wrapped in a towel. A monstrosity of a beetle or some kind of June bug had fallen down, hit her leg, fell on the floor. It had a wounded wing, apparently. She immediately began to try to corral it and as delicately as possible so she could set it free outside. My sister has always had the intense desire to save all of the animals, all of the living things, even wounded bugs. I saw this as an excellent opportunity to be excessively difficult, so I began to try to crush the bug. We argued, this intensified, and I was just about to kill it when my sister stood up, stepped right in front of me, right in between me and the bug, and with her hand out said, "Hey, stop. Violence is wrong. You don't have to be like this." Which, given the context, I thought was an odd thing to say. She just stood there, calm, dignified. It was the first time she had stood up for herself. She didn't get upset. She didn't call out for mom to come intervene. It wasn't about the bug. She was making herself understood, or at least to get me to understand that there's a better way. Maybe there's a better way to be. This lesson has served me well in my adult life in many unsuspecting circumstances, both fortunate and otherwise. So, let's talk about the time I went to jail. In my late 20s, I discovered I had an amazing capacity and aptitude and passion for consuming galactic amounts of drugs and alcohol. Having my first drink well into adulthood is a little bit like the film The Matrix. At the end, when Neo thinks he starts to see it all of a sudden right at the end, and he's becoming like the guy. He's becoming the guy. I became the guy. In my head, I was pretty sure all of a sudden I knew things like martial arts. On any given day, if I really wanted to, I probably thought I could fly. It was like that. It was so amazing and elusive in the beginning, anyway. I ended up devoting nearly 2 decades to this pursuit. In my head, I saw myself as a fantastic functioning alcoholic. Complicated, dark, brooding but sensitive. Like a Wes Anderson adaptation of a Charles Bukowski novel. But in reality, I was just a sad, selfish, middle-aged white guy. I was very much unfantastic and very much non-functioning. I did not hit a rock bottom. I had a rock bottoms collection, but fortunately, through forces greater than myself, I found freedom from addiction through 12-step recovery. This is water. Thank you for applauding that. Part of an effective recovery program is making amends for the wreckage of my past, taking accountability for damage caused physically, financially, emotionally, and going to any lengths to change everything and never falling back into old destructive behaviors. One of the other conflicted relationships I had was with the law. And by that I mean I had broken it. Quite a lot. Some people who are heavy drinkers might have some experience with blacking out. They might drink a little too much, party a little too hard, and wake up the next day and look at their phone and say things like, "Oh, apparently I thought I should text all of my exes last night." Or they look at their receipts and they might say, "Oh, I guess I bought shots for the entire bar." Or they might even say something like, "These are not my pants." Whereas an alcoholic might come out of a blackout and say, "Wait, what day is it?" Or "What city is this?" Or "Whose car am I driving?" Now, I'm not saying that all drinkers are alcoholics, and I'm definitely not saying that all alcoholics come out of blackouts while currently driving a car that they've clearly stolen in a city that they don't remember driving to, in addition to having some active warrants out for their arrest and almost 100% certain that these are not their pants. These are my pants. My point is that when it came time to make legal amends to the court, to turn myself in, the court responded as many friends and loved ones did when I made amends to them. "We're glad you're finally doing the right thing. Thank you for paying us back. We're excited for this new chapter of your life. We missed you. The law, in fact, missed me so much they decided to just keep me for a while. And so I began what turned out to be a personal and intimate 45-day immersive tour of the Southern California correctional system. Jail is many, I'm not Jane Fonda. In my head. Jail is many things. It is harsh reality. It is lonely. It can be enlightening. It is scary at times. It can be surprisingly clean. It has its own version of fun activities sometimes. Think of like Boy Scout camp, but less strict and better food. Jail does, of course, have felons, junkies, gangsters, maniacs, but then again, so did my scout camp. I shared a small cell with two very large men, Glenn and Gonzo. Glenn was Korean and introduced himself as a former white supremacist. Is he here? I wanted to know more about this distinction, but his neck tattoos had a detailed and specific DIY quality to them that I felt that it would be unwise to pull that thread. Gonzo was an older Latino gentleman. A self-proclaimed retired gangster. And when I made an awkward attempt at humor, I asked him if that retirement came with a robust 401k. He didn't really appreciate the joke. He did, however, give me a convincing account of some of his more prominent scars and stab wounds. I was compelled to take him at his word. I came to know Glenn and Gonzo as good, honest men who at some point had become very lost. Our country's for-profit prison system is filled to overflowing with good people who want to change, who want to rehabilitate, who want to get better, who want to be better, and don't have always the resources available to do so. One of the biggest challenges the incarcerated face is fighting off the urge to embrace the hopelessness, to give up, and to give in to what can be an overpowering perception of futility. I make mention of their race because everything in jail is separated and organized by race. Whites, Latinos, Asians, blacks, etc., everything in jail is self-regulating. races police their own. Deputies get involved only when things get very out of hand, basically meaning if there is a fight. And if there is an altercation, if there is an altercation, everyone tends to get in trouble. If a fight breaks out between inmates of different races, things become very tense. A few nights after I was with them, Glenn and Gonzo, it became very clear they didn't like each other. One evening, an argument ensued. It got very heated. Other inmates started to gather. Before I realized what I was doing, I found myself leaping to my feet and getting right in between them. I should point out that I have broken up exactly one fight in my life, and that was in my 6th grade marching band between the first and second chair sousaphone players. Sousaphone players mean business. For real. Now, because there is nothing about me... There's nothing about me that necessarily says prison physique. So the absurdity of me standing between them and startled them in a momentary silence. I found myself saying something I had heard a very long time ago, only once. Stop. Violence is wrong. You don't have to be like this. I'm not sure if I did the neck thing, but... And then they stopped. We all sort of looked at each other and understood. We were standing there in this awkward sort of prison silence. The crowd dispersed, and they were looking at me expectantly, so I said, well, guys... fucking hug it out. And they did. And then a really weird thing happened. We became friends. We opened up to each other. We talked about all of our mistakes together. We laughed, we prayed together, we started a nightly poker game and split the profits because the house always wins together. Ramen, we were playing for ramen, but we connected and we bonded. No conflict was needed. We found a better way to be. When we were young, I went out of my way to irritate and pester my little sister. And now, I go to places and cry in public. And I go out of my way to be more like her. Thank you.
First timer, Kendall Burdett, everybody.